Good morning, good morning, good morning. If we had any more internet issues, it was going to be an afternoon edition of the Buckeye Roast. But we made it. We are here, Q. We made it to Friday. We made it for the show. How you doing?
Yeah, say my favorite kind of Buckeye roast in the afternoon. That's what I'm waiting for when that show start.
Are you off
Um,
today? We can wrap the show right now and start back up in an hour or two.
I am not off, unfortunately, but it's been a week full of guests. It's been fun. I actually got a 3D camera, so I went out last night to shoot it. So and to see how those photos turn out, all that good stuff. So my week's been pretty solid.
Oh, that sounds exciting. Yeah, a big shout. You mentioned the guest. A big shout out to all our guests this week. Our guy Chimdy, Dan and Chad of the Best Damn Pod in the Land, and then Big
Whoever
Chris
was on the
Drew.
show yesterday, some guy,
Huh?
some
Yeah,
guy you
Big
pulled
Chris
off the
Drew
street.
was on the show yesterday. And I mean, the Menace extravaganza continues because we got another guest from Menace to Sports, our guy, Pat Cahill. Appreciate you joining us, Pat.
What's up, fellas? How we doing?
Pretty good, man. Fall camp's wrapping up. Week 0 is here. We're going to be talking betting. We're going to be talking Ryan Day. We got all kinds of things to get into today. But Q, where are we starting?
So we're starting with the audio podcast. So everybody, I need you to leave a 5-star review on both Spotify and Apple. Do that over there if you haven't. I know y'all got iPhones. Go ahead and run those up. We greatly appreciate it. If you don't have an iPhone, I know you got Spotify. So one of the two, go ahead and do those. Also, if you're watching on Twitter, go ahead and like the video, retweet, all of that good stuff. We appreciate you. Share it on the timeline. Shout out again to Doreen. She does it almost daily. So everyone make it a habit. Go share it on the timeline. Tag us in there. I'll give you a shout out to begin the show. And that should be my pre-show notes. So
You
where are
got
we?
Dylan the first. You got the first chat of the day.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I lost that. That was 20 minutes ago. Dylan, get the first shout out. He said, "Let's go, fuck Michigan." I greatly agree. So shout out to him. Again, if you are
Appreciate
first,
to everyone that hung out in the lobby too while we were waiting to get started this morning. I mean, normally it's we're late waking up and scrambling to get the show together when we're late, but this morning I think me and Q were texting at like 7:10 this morning, but it was
you
just
mean
like
you mean
literally
410?
everything went wrong. No internet, the graphics we load them in, they look like they're in 8-bit. Like it has just been a mess of the morning. I look up, it's like 7:56, and I still hadn't sent Pat a link to the show. It was just a chaotic morning, and normally
Survive in advance, baby.
exactly. It's normally one of those mornings where it's like, neither one of us woke up before 7:50 and we're scrambling to get everything live. It was like, no, just pure chaos since we opened our eyes. But we are here. We have a show to bring to you, and we're going to jump right into the national talent composites. I know Bud Elliott has the blue chip ratio. There's a lot made about recruiting stars and overall talent composite and what that means for your ability to win a national championship. So why not dive right in before the season starts and look at the current talent composites?
Here we go. So we have Alabama at 1, Georgia 2, Ohio State 3. If you look down and it's covered up a little bit, you got Texas A&M at 7, Oklahoma's at 8, LSU is at 9. So no, Oklahoma. Why does it throw me off?
Do you need the banner removed?
Oh, that's 11. Okay. I was looking. I was like, how did Penn State get at 8? There we go. Oklahoma, Texas A&M at 7, Oklahoma at 8, LSU at 9, Notre Dame at 10. And you can see the rest right there. So I don't know why I was like, how'd they get at 7? It was just me. So my question is, we talked about it yesterday with Chris Drew on here. Urban Meyer came out and said Ohio State is the best team on paper he's seen 10 years. I'm looking at this paper. They ain't even the number 1 team in the year as far as talent goes. So reaction, do you still believe Ohio State is the best team on paper in the last decade? Pat, I'll start with you.
I mean, we got to pump the brakes before we actually see what's on the field. I mean, I hate all this preseason talk about this is the best team of all time, best defense of all time, best team of the last decade, whatever. It's like we haven't seen them on the field yet. Like, how can you make those statements? Like, sure, the roster looks good on paper, but until we see them on the field, just let's all pump the brakes a little bit. I hate all this noise before the season. It drives me crazy.
Ron.
I mean, I think Urban has a point because, I mean, you think about it, Ohio State's talent composite is definitely elevated by the 2021 class, Ohio State's best class in the Ryan Day era, and we saw so many guys from that class come back. You have Tyleik Williams, Travion Henderson, number one running back in the country, Emeka Ibuka, number one wide receiver in the country, JTT and Jack Sawyer, top two defensive ends in the country. Not only are they absolutely loaded with talent, but they're loaded with experienced talent. And I feel like those Alabama and Georgias are slightly skewed by their most recent recruiting classes, but Ohio State's talent and the players that are actually going to be on the field are primarily comprised of people that have been here for years and that are experienced. So I think that while they may be 3 and on paper, I guess, when you look at the 247 composites, yeah, maybe from a recruiting perspective, but when you think about it as far as experience and returning production, I think the Buckeyes might have a leg up.
So do you guys think, so Urban said that this is the best, best college football roster he's seen in the last decade. Do you think that they're going to have, when it's all said and done, do you think there'll be more NFL players on this year's roster than there were on the 2015 roster that was so loaded?
Do we have a count for the 2015 roster? I mean, right now, when you take a look at this roster, the thing that really stands out is not only the guys that you would assume are going to the draft this year, but the guys behind them that we already believe are potential draft picks. I mean, Brandon Inniss not in the top 3 at the moment, but you would assume that's going to be a guy that plays on Sundays one day. You have a guy like CJ Hicks who still hasn't been able to get on the field, a guy that's being hyped up like Arvell Reese, Jermaine Matthews. The list goes on as far as that safety room. I mean, the black stripes are coming off left and right for safeties. You have Aaron Scott, Bryce West, Jermaine Matthews, 3 borderline and if not 5 stars sitting in the cornerback room. So on top of all of the talent that we expect to see, there's more and more potential draft picks that we believe are sitting on the roster. So I do think that is a possibility with the amount of talent that they have, not only that's currently playing, but the guys that are sitting behind them as well.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know exactly. I'd have to maybe look at that number, but I do know how much money that 2014, 2015 roster made. I do not think this roster is going to touch them as far as earnings go, because all of those guys ended up at the top of their earning for their position, or at least a good amount of them did. So I don't know if we have more pros, but like Ron said, it is deep, especially at certain positions, and maybe we'll get lucky and some of the O linemen will eventually be pros. I know we have probably a couple right now that we know are going to be in, but you look at that line and you're like, oh, I don't know. It's a lot of developmental guys there. So, and especially the defensive line, it's a lot of talent there as well that you'd be like, oh, in a year I can see these guys as pros. So this roster may have more pros, but I think that roster will end up making more money.
This is crazy. The 2015 team, I mean, a lot of this is skewed because a lot of those guys didn't play that year, but it ended up with 42 guys on that roster played in the NFL.
Gee, that's crazy.
I don't know. I don't know about 42.
That's insane.
Yeah, down the line, I mean, Garyon Conley was on that team. It's a lot of guys, that behind the scenes that didn't play necessarily there that season that ended up being pros, because remember how many pros we had in 15 to 16.
Yeah, so many of those are freshmen that year, like Joe Burrow, Rashad Berry. We had KJ Hill, Isaiah Prince, just a bunch of guys that didn't even play. Draymond Jones, and that ended up being stars in the NFL anyway. So it's just funny how that 42 guys seems outrageous, but I guess a lot of those guys didn't really have impact that season.
And you look at how many guys are draft eligible, you hope that the Buckeyes are going to be able to have that type of success with guys that potentially might not play a ton this year because they are losing a ton of production. And if they expect to continue to compete at the level that Ohio State competes, a lot of guys are going to be first-year starters next year, are going to be asked to do a lot and have high expectations, especially with the shoes that they're going to be asked to fill with the expected talent loss after this season.
100% facts. Okay, so that was my question for that. Ron, you had a Ryan Day bonus graphic. You want to let us know about that?
Oh, I don't have a graphic for that, but we do have a topic regarding Ryan Day's bonus structure. So we're going to get into that and talk about, do we think Ryan Day is going to hit his bonus? Day's bonus potential starts with the Big Ten Championship, where he can net $50,000 for capturing the Big Ten's Coach of the Year award and $50,000 bonus for reaching the Big Ten Championship game. Winning the Big Ten title would give Day a $250,000 bonus. So what are we talking about? $350,000 if he's able to win Big Ten Coach of the Year, make the championship game, and then win it. On a national scale, Day's bonus potential related to winning the National Coach of the Year, $100,000, and multiple bonuses related to playoffs. Winning a national championship would net Day $1 million bonus, with bonuses for reaching the CFP $100,000, reaching the second round $250,000, and reaching the semifinals $350,000, and then a national championship win would win him another $500,000. So Ryan Day with around, well, no mathematician, but around $1.4 million in potential bonuses between the Big Ten and the national scale. We talk every year about the goals at Ohio State. It's beat that team up north. I think that should be in this contract with a bonus. That's the first thing that jumps out to me, that there is no roster bonus for being a team up north. Maybe there should be some financial incentive for damn near everybody on the staff. I mean, if it was legal in NIL too, I'd put a bonus in all of those contracts too. We're coming back.
Are you allowed to have a bonus incentive for like a regular season opponent?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about on the coaches' contracts. I know it's not allowed in NIL, but yeah, that was something that jumped out to me. No bonus incentive for beating the team up north, but as Ryan Day has discussed a million times, the goals are beat that team up north, win the Big Ten, win the national championship. If Ryan Day is able to accomplish his goals, he should see $1.4 million in bonuses. Q, your thoughts on the bonus structure, and does Ryan Day get them? Should he be talking to his financial advisor, planning for an extra 1.4 M's this year, or should he be budgeting?
It all makes sense now. People are like, "Hey, why aren't you beating that team up north?" And he's like, "What's that doing for my wallet?
They don't pay me for that shit.
Real. I need to win that game for. I just got to find a way to win the Big Ten." That is a good amount of money. I mean, I do like the structure and this level of high stakes college football. Of course, you want to throw that on, and every coach around the nation has this. So I like it. An extra 1.5 mil. That's not. I'm not mad at it. So I say, hey, maybe, I don't know, we need to win, double it, triple it, because
double the pressure.
Yeah,
whatever gets the job done. I mean, this is a lot of money, so fucking it's time to show out for Ryan Day. And if this doesn't give him a little more incentive, then I don't know what will.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need a 5-star offensive lineman costs in this. I can think of 100 bonuses to add to this.
You know what type of bonus I'd put in there? Hire someone you don't already know bonus.
Let me know what bonuses should be on this scale. Let's just have fun with it. So we'll bring up the best ones.
Are you surprised that there's like no? I mean, I guess maybe those are just specific to him winning the national championship. But would you like to see something like that, like bonus incentives for particular types of achievements for coaches? Like, would you want someone star chasing if they had a talent composite bonus or a 5-star bonus or evaluation bonus, or maybe I think a draft bonus would probably be a better incentive than necessarily a star rating. You want to see them go to the league. Who cares what stars in front of their name? If you're putting guys in the league, that should be a bonus, right?
3-star drafted bonus, under draft, non-blue chip drafted bonus. Like throw them all in, especially for coaches, individual coaches, because I think they just get paid as Ryan Day does going up. But some of those for recruiting, shoot, if I'm Justin Fry and it's like you get $1 million bonus, per 5-star, I'm really out on the trail.
It's like when you're playing NCAA and you put the backup quarterback in week 1 because he's younger, and it's just like, I'm just throwing the ball 100 times. He's going to be here for 4 years. We're not winning this year. I got to hit my bonus. If this kid wins player of the week, I get $100.
They should do that for position coaches too, like All-Americans or like awards. You get a bonus if like Hartline would get a bonus last year because Marv won the Biletnikoff, and whoever, if your position group gets awarded to All-American or for like first team All Big Ten or something, that'd be a cool little bonus structure also.
Yeah, we need to get Justin Fry on here and see what his contract's looking like. Maybe he has a bonus incentive for not signing 5 stars.
Only thing I could imagine is you got Locke with Trey and Quinshawn trying to get two up there, and then Hartline over there with a mech, and he's like, "Yo, I told you last time, throw the ball." And Locke comes up, "No, man, run it."
It looks like there's a fight on the Ohio State sideline between the entire coaching staff. I heard someone scream something about my goddamn bonus.
Oh man.
Well,
That's like those NFL ones that come out every year, like the week 17 or now the week 18 bonuses, when it's the guys need like 5 catches going into the game, and it's they don't want to rest for the playoffs, but they need one more catch to get that $1 million.
The healthy scratch in the NBA, or the guys in the NBA that hit their 3-point percentage incentive with 2 weeks left in the season, and they refuse to shoot a 3 because they might lose their $1 million bonus.
Oh man. But yeah, throw your best bonus ideas in the chat. We'll bring those up later. Yeah. So let's hop into it. So Ryan Day gave us some more news. Ryan Day's actually giving us some news these days. He talked about Nick Mularkey, the punter that Cam famously brought up on Buckeye BS, being named a starter. Ron, I'll start with you. Opponent starting inside the 5 every drive, or what?
I hope so. Again, Nick Mularkey's on that list of Buckeyes. I'm not talking shit about that as one big motherfucker. I don't care if he's a kicker or not. I want no smoke. It's exciting to see the Buckeyes have another extra linebacker on the field with that guy back there punting. So, yeah, man, I'm excited. The Australian pipeline for punters at Ohio State has done well in the past. They say the kid can absolutely boom the ball. Cam touched on it on Buckeye BS a lot. What that means, if the offense stalls early, the ability to be able to flip that field. It didn't feel like we were getting a ton out of our special teams last year. So and I don't believe that. I see he won that job 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, we weren't on the show, and I know when we started the show that they were still saying this was a battle. So I'm not sure he necessarily won that battle. Maybe it might have been a formality, but there were multiple articles that came out that it got to a point where Ryan Day was not sure during camp who the punter was going to be, and they actually just announced it the other day. So shout out to him.
Over under 3.5 weeks before dude like lays someone out and gets drug tested by the NCAA.
I definitely think a drug test will be incoming if you see him lay someone out. Q, what are your expectations for being able to flip the field?
I love it, man. It just brings me flashbacks to how terrible the punting was in the Michigan game, and it just was not good. And I've seen points where it has hurt Ohio State. I just remember everybody remembered that game we played Bama in the college football playoff, not the last one, the 2014 one, where their punter, what was his name? His last name's Scott. I forget his first name. But that dude was pitting. He had Jalen Marshall running back 20 yards to catch every punt. And I'm just like, man, what kind of a weapon is this guy where you have to drive on that defense? So if we get anything like that, steroids or not, I will take it. So that's my.
I'm reminiscing to the it was the Michigan State game from like 2018 when Drew Crispin pinned Sparty inside the 10 on or inside the 5 even on like five punts in the second half, and it was just one of those games where we couldn't get anything going on offense, but like we were able to get short field position because Crispin would pin him down like literally within the 5-yard line. I think it was 5 different times. So I'm looking for something like that. We need that kind of special teams play this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's such a weapon you don't really think about, but it's like, yeah, if you got to drive 80, even 80 yards or more on this defense, good luck. So I'm excited for it. That's where my thoughts are. Okay, more news for you, and I'll start with Pat this time. Ryan Day, who famously said, Sonny Styles is the leader in the clubhouse to start at will linebacker next to Cody Simon. So we had talked about before the Buckets Award. Cody Simon was not on the list. CJ Hicks was, and Sonny Styles was. So, Pat, does this mean Sonny Styles wins the Buckets Award?
He has to, right? It's got to be him. It's a runaway. I mean, I'm shocked that Cody Simon didn't get any love on that. I get that, like all the hype is around Sonny Styles and CJ Hicks, but for me, I feel like Cody Simon, I'm projecting a big year from him. All the stuff out of camp is saying he's looking good, and I feel like he's going to be the leader of that linebacker core as well. But yeah, I mean, Sonny Styles, his freakish ability, he's going to be able to do some freaky things this year, and I'm excited to see where he ends up. In terms of not just for awards, but overall how he improves his game and adjusts to the transition from safety to linebacker.
Yeah, do you know why he didn't get on that list?
Why is that?
Arvell Reese, baby. You know why he didn't get on that list. They know Arvell Reese is going to come ball out.
He's coming for the job.
Why are we putting Sonny Styles on the list? We got this freak show that's about to go out here and win the Heisman, which is the floor for him, by the way. That's the floor. Ron, Sonny Styles starting at will.
Not honestly, I thought CJ was going to be able to finally get it done this year. I mean, they let us know after Still Chambers graduated, CJ Hicks learned the playbook overnight, so that was good to hear that he actually understands how to play football now after they've been telling us for 3 years. Bro doesn't know what the difference between offense and defense was, but now he gets it all. But Sonny's taking his spot. Like, if the best player's playing, then have at it. I don't have an argument this year as far as, hey, the guy behind him's more athletic. Sonny Styles is an absolute freak show. The fact that we have the speed that we've been looking for at linebacker for the first time and couldn't tell you when. It's been quite some time that we've had this much speed in the linebacker room. So exciting to see. You hope to see CJ Hicks find his stride and hopefully be able to get on the field. They talked about rotating, so maybe we will see him there. But no arguments here from me in regards to Sonny Styles getting to start. Uber athletic is exactly what we've been asking for at the linebacker position. Love to see CJ figure it out, but at the same time, best guys need to play, and hopefully we get an improvement out of both of these guys.
Yeah, I think they set CJ up for failure because they're like, hey, CJ, it's your time now. But go start with one of the best players in the country, solidified, and one of the best. Like I said, I thought last year Sonny Styles may have been top 5 best players on the entire team. So the fact that he wasn't going to start was absurd. And if they came back and said, oh, Sonny, you're not going to start, I'd be like, bro, transfer, because they obviously are not valuing you. But I do expect him to split some playing time. I expect big things from CJ Hicks because he has to earn that Buckets Award nominee. Pat, you have something?
Yeah, man. I mean, that's what it comes down. You got to back up all the hype.
Okay, so I'll take a good minute here to let everybody know we got almost 200 people in here. Go ahead and like that video. If you are on Twitter, hit that like, hit that retweet. If you're driving in the car and listening to this and you're like, dang, you guys look so handsome, you're distracting me. Well, don't worry about it. We are on Apple Podcasts and we're on Spotify. So go ahead and listen over there and get to work safe. I know some people are traveling in the morning, so I appreciate you rocking with us. And let's move to the offensive line. So I'm gonna switch this up a little bit. So Ryan Day had a quote. We'll start with this. Ryan Day had a quote, and he said,
"I have a dream." That's not how that started. That wasn't him.
Ryan Day. I made myself laugh with the note I wrote. So Ryan Day's quote was, we should have the best offensive line in the country. That is the standard here. My question was, does he know?
I mean, I guess they missed it. I mean, the standards beat Michigan too, and we don't do that either. So, I mean, I don't know about these standards that they got set around here, but I mean, I have nothing, bro. The standard is the best in the country. It hasn't been that. Has it ever been that under Ryan Day?
No, not even close.
I would say DeJuan Jones, Paris Johnson year, they were one of the best in the country, but they also had the talent to be one of the best in the country. I don't know if they're exactly pulling in the talent like that now.
Hey, I'm going to tell you this. If we have the best offensive line in the country and Justin Fry does it with transforming Josh Fryer and Josh Simmons, a San Diego State left tackle, and gives us the best offensive line in the country, put a statue of him up. Like, I shout out to him. Like, the development you saw Josh Fryer talk about being an Iron Buckeye and his development here. If he's able to transform this line and they truly believe this is the best line in the country, give him an extension. I don't know if it's going to be that. I have serious doubts, but I mean, and here's my thing. I have serious doubts about them being the best offensive line in the country. I don't have doubts about them being decent. Like,
Yeah.
if they find someone that they're comfortable with at right guard, which I'm not convinced they have, then I think this offensive line will be more than sufficient for what they need to do this season. Best in the country? No.
Do you think it's best in the Big Ten?
I mean, I was still playing football.
That's true.
That's pretty damn hard with Iowa, Wisconsin walking around.
And their sack numbers are going to be so low with 5 pass attempts a game. I'm not sure.
And also, too, I currently think Oregon boasts a better set of tackles right now. I mean, I know Josh Sims is in there with among the best in the Big Ten, but Oregon's tackles are really good. So I don't know if they're the best in the Big Ten, but I mean, this is Ohio State. We should be relatively close, and I don't think we're that far off. I just don't know if the standard is best offensive line in the country. I think that might be a little bit.
They say we're hard on Justin Fry, and that's the standard, bro. Let's scrap the whole notes and start this show on the standard of offensive line. And see, people talk about us making up these standards. He said that. I didn't. I'm just going off what bro says.
Hey, I need to know one thing. Is that on the contract bonus in the country?
Best offensive line plus $1 million.
Okay, so Pat, I got a question for you. So this is a quote from Donovan Jackson, who doesn't say much, but he did praise Seth McLaughlin. And he said, "You can see his experience, his leadership at the center position, communicating down the line and making sure everyone is on the same page." So my question for you is, where does Seth McLaughlin rank as far as importance and the transfers we got this offseason?
Honestly, I mean, you can make an argument that he is probably importance-wise just because of, I mean, obviously Will Howard, I would say, is the number one important due to we needed an upgrade in that position, and I think we got it. But you can argue that Seth McLaughlin actually is more important to the overall success of the team this year than Quinshon or Caleb Downs, just because we already had dudes at those positions. We upgraded and got even more legit dudes, but like we needed the offensive line help badly, more so than we needed help on the DB side or on the running back side. So I think you can make an argument that he's the second most important transfer that Ohio State got in the portal this year. And if he's, gotten rid of the yips and can lead that offensive line to be the best in the nation, like Ryan Day said, or even just serviceable, then I think that's huge and will go a long way for this team, especially in terms of running the football and moving the ball on offense.
Yeah, Ron.
Yeah, Pat hit the nail on the head there. I mean, the guy touches the ball on every offensive play. So, I mean, I'd say it's pretty damn important, especially given his history with the yips. If they're able to solve that and the questions that they had at center last year, I mean, you looked at the Missouri game and the struggles that they had on the offensive line. Clearly, it showed you that there wasn't anyone particularly ready to jump in and take that opportunity with the struggles that we saw there. So to be able to address that issue is definitely big for the Buckeyes, and I think that was a huge get. I mean, say what you want about the high school recruiting, Justin Fry has gotten it done in the portal back-to-back years as far as addressing the center position this past year, getting Josh Simmons the year before, a guy that turned out to be a 2-year starter. So if he's able to continue that success in the transfer portal, maybe his job's safe.
Yeah, I would agree. I'd probably put him at 2 myself. So one final question on the offensive line. We know we've had this illness going around. Guys have been out, guys have been in. A lot of younger players have gotten reps. How much do you expect this illness to affect this offensive line coming next Saturday and early in the season? Ron, I'll start with you. Do you think it's a big deal, or do you think we got, games where they can have time to adjust?
I mean, we're no insiders, so there's no possible way we could possibly know what illness it was. But given my background in epidemiology, I would assume that what they're dealing with is behind them and should not be a concern moving forward.
Pat.
Yeah, and I mean, even if it is, even if the sickness is lingering, I mean, we don't need them to be healthy until October 12th. So it's like at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Just be healthy that week, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'm with y'all. I did not go to medical school, but I dated a girl who did, and my expert opinion.
Flex.
Thank you.
And my medical knowledge that I picked up from Oasis, I think will be fun early in the season. Okay, it's a good time to take a moment. Everybody, make sure you like that video. We got 200 people in here. I see the chat is booming. We had the return of Michael, the Notre Dame fan, who is what he's. I don't know whether it's him or Punk for this is their favorite show outside the Ohio State fan base. So they're competing day in, day out. So good to have him back so everybody can roast him up. Definitely let him know we're 2-0 against Notre Dame in recent times. Appreciate the chat. They're bumping. Everybody like the video. If you are on Twitter, go ahead and like and repost, especially if you're in the community. And if you are not in the community, then get in there. DM one of us, anybody. Everyone's in there besides you. So DM somebody. We'll get you in there, and definitely you'll get your Ohio State fan fix. Ron, Jeff,
Yeah, I'm laughing at the chat because Michael said, go ahead and hit that like button. It's free like running the ball on Ohio State. Getting roasted on our own channel, man.
Oh, man. Good to have him back. But okay, so, Pat, I heard you talk to your cousin Mensa. You have some good stuff for us this week, so I'm gonna let you know.
You're gonna have to get us set up with him. Like we asked Menace for the betting guy, and I said, "Can we have Mensa?" And they said, "No, we'll send you Pat."
We'll give you Pat.
Yeah, we'll give you Pat. So we appreciate you helping us and relaying some Mensa style information for us and being our betting expert. But maybe if we have a conversation with Zach, he'll let Mensa come on the show here.
Yeah, we'll see if we can make it happen. He faxes me over all the picks anyway and all the data, so I just read it out to you guys.
Hey, I appreciate that. So it's week 0, man. College football betting is back, and I know you're excited. You and Mensa have been crushing the WNBA numbers for the past couple weeks, and you've just been waiting for football to be back so you have some ball to bet on. WNBA season's over. It's officially football betting season. It's DGen season. We can bet on tons of football all week around. So let's just dive right into week 0, man. What are you liking as far as these bets? We got some numbers up here. I started with the Florida State. If you want me to switch to Georgia Tech, you just let me know. But what are the numbers telling you about betting this college football season?
No, yeah. I mean, first of all, I'm so excited. College football, I would say college football is my favorite sport to bet. In terms of like just overall, I love player prop betting. Now, what sucks about Ohio is that they just made it illegal to bet college player props a couple months ago. So I've literally got friends back home in Jersey that I'm like, hey, I want to send you money and you're just going to place these bets for me each week because I need the juice. But yeah, so my first bet that I like for week 0, Florida State, Georgia Tech. I like the Florida State team total over 34.5 points. As you see up on the screen here on the graph, their offense was pretty loaded last year. Obviously, Jordan Travis did a lot of good stuff for them. I mean, he was in Heisman, conversation before the gruesome injury, and he had that team undefeated. So they return a decent amount on offense. They return, 56% of their offensive production. So about middle of the pack in terms of FBS teams. But I think they're going to have a field day against Georgia Tech's defense. Georgia Tech is returning only 49% of their returning production on defense, which is 108th in the country. And they were just all sorts of bad last year. They were 97th in points per game allowed. They were 90th in points per play, 123rd in total defense and yards given up. So I look for Florida State with DJU at quarterback and some solid running backs. I know Trey Benson was a stud for them last year, but they got Lawrence Toafili, who was on the team last year, and they got Alabama transfer Roydell Williams, which is kind of a slept-on addition in the transfer portal this year. But I think they're going to be able to move the ball on the ground, especially. Their offensive line returns 3 starters, and the 2 that left, they got transfers from Bama and Florida to make up for the NFL departures there. So I think that this is a good spot for Florida State to jump out. They're still feeling pissed off about getting left out of the playoffs last year. What better opportunity than to smoke Georgia Tech on national TV in week 0? I'm not crazy about the spread just because I think Georgia Tech can put up some points on their own, but I think Florida State should cruise over their team total. A couple of these historical stats that I like to bring up too is that in the games played in Dublin, Ireland, in the history, the winning team is averaged 38 points per game in 8 games that have been played in Dublin, which, again, Florida State being ranked by double digits makes me believe they're going to win. And history shows that they put up points, the winning team. And then also ranked teams playing in Ireland have averaged 47 points per game, and Florida State coming in at 10th in the country. I think that's a lock there. So that's one of the things I got. Any thoughts on that for you guys?
Yeah, so I was watching this show. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Minutes to Sports with Zach Smith. I was checking that out, and they were talking about Florida State. And Chris was hyping up. The line has been moving towards Georgia Tech. A lot of hype around that. He brought up the fact that Haynes King is returning. You did mention that you think they'll be able to put up their points, but you talked about how bad Georgia Tech's defense was last year. One of the points that Zach made on the show, Haynes King is coming back, but no one is coming back on their defense. And Chris made the argument, well, maybe the defense gets better because the worst defense, one of the worst defenses in the ACC last year, loses a ton of their production. Maybe they've improved that defense. And Zach made the solid point that, hey, those guys that are going to be filling in were the same guys that were there last year that couldn't beat out the guys on the 98th ranked defense. When you see a lot of turnover like that, how much can you depend on the previous season production?
It's tough, and that's why I'll always my betting advice, or I should say my cousin's betting advice, really kicks into gear in a couple weeks when you can use the in-season data. I'm not crazy about using historical data, but I think it's worth, looking at early on in the season at least. So the fact that Florida State had such a potent offense last year, and I think DJU is a solid quarterback. Obviously, he was 20th in the nation last year in overall passing grade amongst returning quarterbacks. So I think he should be able to, bridge the gap between, what they had in Jordan Travis versus what they will be this year. And I just think that unless all these guys on Georgia Tech that didn't play last year had these massive upgrades, I don't know if it's like NCAA where you can just bump up
trading results.
But unless that's the case, I think Florida State should be able to move the ball with ease, especially on the ground. They're Georgia Tech was dog shit against the run last year. They were 131st in yards allowed rushing, 130th in yards per carry, and 117th in explosive rush allowed. So I just think all those together means that Florida State's going to run all over them.
So a quick question for both of you guys. You talked about DJU. This is DJU's first game with Florida State. Are you guys DJU believers? I don't need necessarily a prediction in regards to this game, but an expectation for DJU in comparison to his previous teams. Do you expect more of an Oregon State style season or something more familiar with what we saw out of him at Clemson now that he is at Florida State?
Ooh, I guess I'll lead off here. Honestly, I expect a leveled up version of both. We saw what Jordan Travis was able to do in this offense last year at Florida State. I trust the coaching staff here to get DJU right, and he is in the ACC, so it's not necessarily he's going against great defenses week in, week out. I expect a leveled up version because I always thought if DJU gets around some good coaching and like a solid team with talent, he'll put up some numbers. And you saw the spurts against Clemson, but you also knew the living train wreck their offense was throughout the year. So I expect DJU. He's one of the guys when he initially left Clemson, I was like, oh, Ryan Day, this is a slam dunk. You're going to get him and his 5-star DN brother to come to Ohio State. Ryan Day said, nah, I'm good. I'll take Kyle McCord. But I think DJU at a good program with good coaching and development will do numbers this season, and Florida State is my ACC favorites so far.
Yeah, I agree. I think we'll see another leveled up version. We kind of saw him level up a little bit last year at Oregon State. He was better at yards per attempt and air yards per attempt than he was at Clemson. And he didn't turn the ball over really last year, only 7 interceptions to 21 touchdowns. I think we'll see him be able to dice up some ACC defenses that really, playing in the Pac-12 last year, there will be a little bit, I think, of a difficulty in terms of the type of defenses they're going to face. Pac-12 isn't really known for their style of defense. They're more fast-paced, up-tempo, score as much as you can. But him having familiarity with the conference, I think, gives him a leg up, having played at Clemson. And I think we're going to see an improved version of DJU. And it's funny, we were talking about this on the show. I think it was last week, but I think it's 5 of the last 8 quarterbacks that have won the Heisman have been transfers. And it's funny because you look at the list of guys that are, atop the.
You heard it here first. Will Howard Heisman.
Exactly.
Book it.
Book it.
That's where you're going, right?
That's exactly where I'm going. Hammer the Will Howard Heisman future. But no, I think DJU is primed for a good year, and I think he starts it off this weekend with a big showing versus Florida State. Another betting advice I want to throw out there. Now again, this is for non-Ohio people or for people in Ohio. If you are able to have a contact,
no federal crime suggestions on here. Let's keep it moving.
I'm just saying, if you know someone who knows someone,
if you know a guy with a bat that'll knock on your door, he might take player props. But in the state, it is illegal if you're in the state of Ohio.
The legal states in which you can bet on these sorts of things. I like Haynes King anytime touchdown for Georgia Tech. I think there's some value there at plus money. He's plus 120 across multiple books right now. And the line isn't up yet, but I'm curious to monitor his rushing yard total because I think the weather's supposed to be iffy for Saturday's game. I mean, Ireland's, known for having wet weather all the time. So I wouldn't be surprised. I think there's like a 20% chance of rain, which leads me to believe that Georgia Tech, I mean, primarily they're known for running the ball. Obviously, Haynes King is a little bit more of a dynamic passer than they're used to, not the days of the triple threat anymore, or the triple option, I should say. But I think he was one of two quarterbacks last year with 2,700 passing yards, 600 rushing yards, 25 pass TDs, and 5 rushing TDs. The only other one being Jaden Daniels. So I think people are kind of, not really talking about Haynes King the way they should be. I know Chris True loves him. So
Haynes King for Heisman? Is that what you're saying?
There's some that talk about a transfer there.
He did transfer.
He's a transfer. He has Jaden Daniels type numbers. You heard
the
it.
The shoe fits, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, but no, I'm liking his anytime touchdown and his over rushing yards. The line for rushing yards isn't up, but I would expect it to be probably for quarterbacks. You see it around like the 40, 50 yard range, especially for mobile guys. The one thing you got to be worried about is in college, the quarterback rushing yards get hit negatively with sacks. So you got to hope that Georgia Tech's line is at least somewhat solid on Saturday. But yeah, I think those two along with the Florida State team total, those are the locks of the week for week 0.
Yeah, I mean, this thing looks like a damn Christmas tree with all the red light on it. I mean,
yeah.
If you don't need any more convincing, if Pat hasn't sold it enough on the Florida team over, I mean, historical context, whether that be in Ireland or specific to Florida State, this Georgia Tech defense looks god-awful. Their defense just looks terrible. We should see in week 1 or week 0 if they've been able to improve these numbers. I mean, if they can't improve this, they should probably just start investing in basketball or more into engineering because I don't know if football is necessarily their thing if they can't tackle anybody. It should be interesting to see if they're able to wake up in Ireland and shock the world. And I mean, I guess shock everyone except for Chris Drew, who is riding Georgia Tech. He's riding for his Atlanta team, but I don't see them getting it done. Especially, honestly, I was drinking the Kool-Aid. I was watching Menace to Sports this past week, and Chris has been hyping up this Georgia Tech team, hyping up Haynes King, talking about his speed on NCAA. But after you broke down the numbers, I'm not going.
It's not going, man. I'm somewhat buying into the hype around him, but like, no way. I don't know. I'm not touching the spread just because the line has moved. I think Florida State opened as 13.5 point favorites, and now it's down to 10.5. So that freaks me out a little bit. But like, they're not going to stop Florida State. Florida State can hang whatever they want on them. Like it's not. If Georgia Tech can score, they can maybe cover. But oh man,
it's going to be out in Ireland.
Shootout.
Yeah, 92%. Yeah, I say 92% spent on the bets is on Florida State to crush that money line. I got a question for you, Pat. This isn't in the notes, but by chance, do you have a score prediction for the Florida State?
All right,
Georgia Tech
I'm gonna go with Florida State 41, Georgia Tech 27. That's my score prediction for.
All right, so you heard it here first. Bet the correct score.
Correct score, juicy payout.
Just gave it to you. That's a great. Hey, I'll go ahead and pay for Christmas early. And week 1, and we're already planning vacation. So
hell yeah, week 0, baby. Time to lock in.
You heard it here first, man. We appreciate Pat joining us for our betting segment on Friday. We definitely want to bring you more of this stat-based information and some betting help here on Fridays. Also going to incorporate Pat in our over-under game that everyone loved last year. So Pat's going to join the fray. We're going to track our over-unders each week that we set. He's going to be helping us set these lines in the coming weeks. So we're going to be playing our over-under games for the Ohio State game coming up here in the future. Of course, we're going to have national betting picks, all kinds of fun here on Fridays. Again, a big thank you to all of the guests this week. This has been awesome having Chris, Pat, Chimdy, Chad, Dan, everybody that joined us this week. Awesome helping us out with guest week this week. The season is officially here, man. College football starts tomorrow. No college football pregame show. We're not doing week 0, but we will be back for the college football pregame show on Saturdays starting week 1. Me, Chris Drew, plenty of guests on Saturdays. But man, make sure you guys are tuning in here. There's almost 300 people watching the show right now. If you're watching on YouTube and you're seeing us for the first time, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on Twitter, go ahead and throw a like on that video and retweet, drop a follow if you're not already following. And yeah, man, a big thank you to Pat for joining us today. Q, Pat, let the people know where they could find you.
You go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Pat_Cahill8. That's Cahill Cahill 8 on Instagram. And then on Twitter, same thing, Pat_Cahill8, except spelled a little differently. Khill 8 on Twitter. So drop a follow. I got to make it difficult on y'all.
Yeah, man. Appreciate everybody in the chat. The chat was absolutely booming today. We're doing numbers. It was around 300 live viewers. So while you're here, like that video. Said if you were on Twitter, hit that like and retweet, especially in the community. Let some people see it. I'm gonna have to go, and I almost forgot about this. Remember last year, and Pat, we might have to have you in here for this. We did an over under as far as Ohio State player teams, Ohio State player stats for the season. Ooh. I know last year we hit the over on everybody, and they said we're going to score 500 a game. Over. So if I can find that, we'll definitely do that, and we'll bring you in because that was a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so down.
Yeah. So if you want to find me, I am not hard to find. I am City Boy Quentin on Twitter. I'm Flying at Johnson on both Instagram and TikTok, and I am Minor League Films also here on YouTube where I talk movies. So come over there and join me. And Ron.
Yeah, if you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at 2Ts. It's 2_TEES. You can find me weekdays here with Q for the Buckeye Roast live at 8 a.m. You can find us Sundays for Buckeye BS at 10 a.m. with our guys Cam and Mike. And then, of course, Saturdays on the Menace of Sports platform. You can find me and Chris Drew doing the Best Damn College Football pregame show from 10 till noon every Saturday during the season, except for week 0. Also, you can catch me and Chris Drew on Bleacher Report on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. this season and Saturdays immediately after the game for instant reaction. So if you don't have the Bleacher Report app, make sure you go out and download that so you can catch us for all the instant reactions after the game and a special Wednesday show with me and Chris Drew live on Bleacher Report at 5 p.m. on Wednesdays this season. So make sure you check that out. Appreciate everyone in the chat for tuning in. The chat has been so lively this week. Shout out to all the people that have been showing us love on the timeline. We appreciate that. And of course, a big thank you to our guest today, Pat, for joining us. Of course, it's always Go Bucks and OH.
Ayo.
Yeah.